As you'll expect, the D-tag races will be on the front pages naturally. It's their day. And we begin with Vanguard newspaper. Vanguard newspaper has a big story, another big story, but let's talk about the picture of the D-tag race on the front page. And you see victory lap. The D-tag race beat Mali 78-64 to win 5th Afrobasket women title in Ivory Coast yesterday. But just before we get into all of the big stories, let's welcome Mr. Dayo Akintobi, who joins us live in our studio, public affairs analyst. Good morning, sir.
A very good morning to you. A very good wet morning to Nigeria.
Oh, it is. It is. And we're going to be showing you visuals of just how the rain has impacted Lagosians. Perhaps if you have visuals as well, please send them in so we can show the world. But Mr. Akintobi, I don't know if this is a celebratory rain to celebrate the win of a D-tag race, but it's a bit too much in that sense. But you can never complain, right?
No, in Nigeria, I have a tendency to call it showers of blessing.
Thank you very much, even though it's flooding sometimes.
Well, Lagos State has actually done quite well with flood management because this morning, for example, the waters receded very quickly. And I think they've done quite a bit in terms of environmental work, clearing drainage channels, banning single-use plastic.
Yeah.
It has actually been on the forefront of fighting flooding issues. And I think it reflected this morning because on my way into the studio, I saw that places that normally would be flooded with this level of rain had actually drained away and were passable.
That's great to hear.
Yes.
Well, again, we'll be walking around Lagos to just see the state of things. But aside the photograph of the D-tag race on the front page of the Vanguard, you see two stories. One is in red, silent killer, soaring drug costs, ignorance, fueling hypertension deaths. And this is something that we have spoken about time and again, but let's speak to the data. Over 41 million Nigerians at risk as hypertension cases surge. Patients forced into deadly drug holiday as treatment becomes unaffordable. Experts warn of national emergency as sudden deaths spike nationwide. And there's something from the federal government saying we're addressing problem. It's a page 5 read. It's a big story, very important one, but it's just around the cost of the drugs and ignorance as well.
Well, the corner pharmacy, the corner chemist seems to have taken over from the family doctor, the general practice that we used to go to for treatment because it's become prohibitively expensive. And as a result, a lot of Nigerians now patronize their pharmacy, and pharmacists now dispense medical advice, prescribe drugs, which they're not really qualified to do. All they really should do is dispense medication as prescribed by a doctor. But what you find is people going to consult with pharmacists now because medical care is getting out of reach in terms of cost. And that's actually dangerous. And I'm sure that plays a role in the spike in all the ailments we're seeing. High blood pressure having been a major problem in Nigeria historically, probably primarily because of our diets, our lifestyle and things like that. Lots of salt in our food, lots of fried food, lots of fatty food, sedentary lifestyles that don't involve that much activity and exercise and things like that. All of the factors that aid high blood pressure and hypertension are prevalent in our society, and then the means to combat those kind of ailments are getting out of reach for the common people. So what do? We repair to less palatable options, and this is the downside. This is the outcome, is that it now spikes in terms of the quantum of cases that you see. It speaks to our overall health consciousness and the fact that people have to make cut corners, and the worst thing you can cut corner with is health, because without health everything else grinds to a halt. So I think primarily the problem is that most of the drugs that we use in this country are imported. We don't produce that many. You see a lot of marketers, drug marketers, whose names are on the packages, but all they're doing is bringing them in from India, from China, from other places, and marketing them on behalf of the foreign companies. We don't actually make that much here in terms of even something as simple as paracetamol. We don't really make it here. And so this is why the cost, of course, with Naira devaluation, when you're bringing drugs in, it costs a lot more. and is out of reach for the average Nigerian. So this is something government definitely needs to look into. Perhaps create more of an enabling environment for local drug manufacture and perhaps subsidize medical care. I mean, if you go to the general hospitals, you're supposed to be charged according to your ability to pay. General hospital, government hospitals charge you based on what you earn. That's the first thing they'll ask you is, what do you do? What job are you in? How much do you earn? And they bill you based on what you earn. Same thing with primary healthcare centers. So local pharmacies don't have to be the last option.
Indeed, Mr. Kintobi. It's a big issue, very big issue, because when you look at the data, over 41 million Nigerians at risk as hypertension cases surge. But while that is a major concern, let's show you some of the images that we have as a result of the rains. Now, this is a border between Ogun and Lagos. In fact, this road was constructed by the federal government all the way down. This is meant to be a road that leads to Ikorodu from right inside Opik in that sense. Well, the road has not been completed yet at the other end, but you can see the effect of the rains this morning at this border between Lagos and Ogun State, just to give you a sense of what motorists will have to go through. I don't know what the case will be like in Lagos, so if you're watching right now, if you're on your way to work or you're affected by the rain, absolutely, you can send in your visuals at the morning brief at channelstv.com or just tag us on any of the social media platforms at CTV Morning Brief, and we'll be sure to share this with the world. But this is the aftermath of the rain in the border between Lagos and Ogun State.
It's clearly a recurrent decimal. It's something we've always been used to getting to deal with. It's just going to be a flash flood, we don't know. But whenever it rains in Lagos, you just know that you're up for some of these challenges. It depends on what part of Lagos you live in. Some part is easy, some part is just, oh no, not again. Some part is literally, let's relocate for the time being. If it's the heavy type, you literally want to be an idea to relegate people to IDPs within their own vicinity, in their own houses. So it depends on where you live. But if something can be done to ensure, because the rain is not as aggressive as expected, but already there's flood everywhere. That speaks to things not properly done in certain parts of Lagos, as much as things have been done in other parts. But if the little rain we saw this morning has resulted in all of this, well, at least from where I live, the rain was not as heavy. I don't know whether this part the rain was as heavy as it should be, but we've seen not much rain resulting in all of this. So this is yet again calling on the Ogun State government and the Lagos State government for the places that are affected to see how things are sorted, because it's very hard and difficult, emotionally draining, logistic demanding, cost and all of that, to be forced to leave your house for 2 months or 2 weeks or thereabout to go find shelter somewhere else simply because things were not properly done. Or maybe sometimes the people themselves defy government directive to do some of these things. But let's come back to the studio and talk about what's going on in the dailies, Mr. Kintobi. Let's go to this Nigeria. A bit of a confusion here. NNPCL, confusion over alleged resignation of the GMD, Mr. Julari. Presidency security dismissed reports of forced exit as protesters demand probe over alleged fraud. Staff silent and growing tension at headquarters. So we really are not sure what it. Julari just was disappointed. Is he up to 3 months? He just, in fact, the last time he was at the Senate, when he was summoned about 4 times and eventually showed up for those discrepancies they called for. He said, guys, I'm sorry, but I'm just barely here. I've not even had to settle in properly. You're asking for 2 weeks for me to give you answers to the questions you've raised, but can you give me 3 weeks? And now we're hearing about he's resigning, he has resigned. We don't. What do you think is going on here?
Well, it's still very opaque, actually, because there are 2 different schools of thought. The government came out and denied because the first stories that came out was that he was abducted by a combined team of EFCC and DSS, and he was taken away to go and be questioned, investigated, whatever the case may be, which in and of itself sounds like something out of a spy movie. I mean, yes, he had a reputation of not particularly being responsive when summoned, so that kind of gave some momentum to the rumors that he was abducted, because if he was invited, he had a bad record of showing up when the Senate, when the National Assembly invited him, he didn't show up. However, I read a statement from him yesterday that he did resign, but that he wasn't coerced to resign. I don't know how true that statement was either, because there's so much going on in the media space that you really don't know what is what, and the government hasn't given any official statement beyond the fact that he wasn't abducted. What I do know is that there's some controversy around his leadership of the NNPC. The dust started to fly when he organized a movement to Kigali. There was a retreat of some sort that the NNPC went to Kigali, and the running cost for that at a time when the country is grappling with very high poverty rates, and when we're trying to curb government spending, they seem to have gone on a junket to Kigali that was something of an extravagant, wasteful exercise. And that was when the scrutiny started. Then there were issues of monies unaccounted for within the NNPC. And so his reign has been controversial, as short as it's been, 3 months, like Jeffrey said. For the whole 3 months, he's been mired in controversy. So it won't surprise me if the administration has pressured him to resign because the NNPC was getting a bad rap. As it is, the NNPC has been described as the most opaque oil company in the world. Nigeria has an issue with fuel prices right now. It seems to be like a yo-yo. Many people don't seem to understand deregulation. The assumption was that when the industry was deregulated, prices would come down. And that generally is what should happen, because competition generally fosters lower pricing. But the price keeps spiraling up and sometimes going down. Of course, it's reacting to world crude oil prices, but Nigerians generally are not happy. We want to see the prices crash. I mean, Dangote refinery has come online. That was supposed to be the big savior, that the moment we start refining locally, prices will crash. Well, prices have inched downwards, but they haven't crashed to where they were pre-subsidy removal. So when the agency or the organization that's in charge of all this, the NNPC, that is the 800-pound behemoth that controls the entire downstream and how we get our fuel, when that agency now becomes mired in controversy, accused of extravagant spending, accused of not accounting for all the monies that came into its coffers, it just lends more credence to our dissatisfaction.
Do you think this is about him saying, look, I did not get it, bring this mess, so why are you putting this on me? Because technically, he's just new. All of the issues around the discrepancy between the book, two sides of the book, has nothing to do with him. It's just 2018 to 2023, and then the issues around the sale of the refinery. He was even saying you should have not started running that refinery prematurely. So he's been talking some things that are hitting jabs at the people who were like his predecessor. So is this, if it is true?
If, big if. Big if. Well, the thing about it is he knew all this before he accepted the job.
Okay.
He knew it was a political hot potato before he accepted it. And he was fully aware of all the controversies that were on ground, even the Port Harcourt refinery that they said was ready and was working and was producing, which he now came in and was candid about the fact that it wasn't ready to go at that time. He knew what it was, and he knew that this is a job that has political headwinds, that will always attract scrutiny. And so you have to be above board in everything you do in administering the NNPC. It will attract scrutiny at every level, from media, from the public, from NGOs. The NNPC is the mother lode of where the bulk of Nigeria's revenue comes from. So we are totally dependent on that agency being run well, being run transparently, and being accountable for every kobo that passes through it. So if he accepted that job, knowing how delicate it was, and knowing the historical antecedents of things that were already waiting for whoever took the helm, and then he's approached it the way he has, he only has himself to blame. If he met a lot of irreconcilable discrepancies and is now speaking out about them. Of course, there's going to be some political backlash, and he should have expected that.
I'm just wondering how important it is as well to invite the former boss of the NNPC to also speak on all of these discrepancies. And of course, there's tension at the agency. You know, just not too long ago, the public relations officer of the corporation also resigned. So all of these issues, I wonder if they are related. But let's go to the Abuja Inquirer. And this morning, it's a departure from politics, anything politics, or anything concerned about, you know, physical development. They're zeroing in on the education sector. Exam malpractice amnesty. Exam malpractice amnesty rocks Uni Abuja. Alumni, that's the university's alumni, says slap on integrity, demands full disclosure of benefiting students. Interesting one here. Varsity justifies action. What are your thoughts on this? You know, the university has not quite recovered from the leadership crisis that you know rocked it at the beginning of the year, and now we're having this.
You don't reward or excuse bad behavior. I don't understand why you would want to grant amnesty to anyone not just accused of, but caught
Oh, my goodness.
with exam malpractice.
Unless he granted a terrorist.
Exactly, and you know how that went when we granted amnesty to repentant Boko Haram people. You know how that went. So you don't overlook bad behavior, because then you reinforce it and you set a precedent. And so those who are caught doing this should be brought to book. I understand that the university is trying to balance public education goals in terms of registration, in terms of number of graduates, in terms of number of, but I think what it does, it dilutes the essence of educational advancement when you begin to excuse bad behavior, because what you're doing then is you're entrenching mediocrity, and you're also encouraging that sort of behavior among other people. So I don't know who's advising the administration at the university, but I think there should be an outcry. And I think parents actually are falling down on the job, because you would find that it's a lot of parents that are going there to go and beg for forgiveness for their children who did this kind of thing. And you find that parents play a large role in helping their children to cheat, in getting people to sit exams for their children, because they're so desperate for their children to get in higher, in tertiary institutions, that they will do nearly anything, because tertiary education is the only passport to a better life in this country. We haven't got to the point yet where your skills, your hand skills, as an artisan, can keep you fed. If you don't have university education in this country, your prospects are limited, and so parents are desperate to the point. But I think one should always take the honorable path as opposed to a shortcut, because at the end of the day, it's still going to tell on the student anyway. If he got ahead through exam malpractice, he's going to get to the point where he can't cope with the exams, he can't cope with the material, he can't, because obviously if he had to cheat to get in, he's not capable. So what he should do is go back and take some remedial classes and get some lessons, extra tutorials, and buck up, and then do the exam again, and then get in when you are capable. Because if you get in under false pretenses, it's going to tell on you down the road, and it's also dumbing down our academic sector in terms of the intellectual capability of our graduates.
Well, Ms. Akintobi, this is a very, very interesting conversation. I'm sure we'll still explore it, because there are more questions to ask. But we have to thank you so much, Mr. Dayo Akintobi, and it's good to have you back.
Yes, it's wonderful to be back. There's no place like Nigeria. Anytime I leave this country for a minute, I am so desolate and despondent. I can't wait to get back home. Nigeria is God's own country. This is the place to be.
Ooh, wow. You gotta love that. I love that. Thank you so much, Mr. Akintobi, once again.
My pleasure always.
Oh, that's a great place to anchor our review of the dailies, but we're not done. We're just getting started. We have a conversation next with the presidential aide on new media, digital media. There was a summit just a few days ago, and the president made some statements. What is it about? How does it affect you? Just stay with us. We'll be right back.